Hello everyone. So in this lecture we are going to discuss the point set topology. So starting we will discuss the bounded set, unbounded set, supremum, infimum. Then further we will discuss the limit point, derived set, open set and closed set, interior point. So all the properties of all these definitions. So let's start with the definition of a bounded set or unbounded set. So first definition, bounded above or upper bound of a set. So upper bound or a bounded above set. So let we have A is any non-empty set and A is a subset of a real line R. Then A or alpha belongs to R is called an upper bound of A. The alpha belongs to R is called an upper bound of A if for every x belongs to A, x is less than or equal to alpha. So simple definition, if every element of A is less than or equal to this real number alpha, then alpha is called an upper bound of A and the set A is called bounded above by alpha. So this one is a simple definition. So if there exists any real number which satisfying this property, then this real number is called upper bound, and if alpha exists then A is called bounded above and alpha is called upper bound. And simply property, if A is bounded above by alpha, so this implies for all gamma belongs to R, gamma is greater than or equal to alpha, gamma is also an upper bound of A. That is, every real number which is greater than or equal to alpha is an upper bound if alpha is an upper bound. So directly we can say that if A is bounded above, then the set of, so if A is bounded above, then the set of all upper bounds of A are unbound, or set of all upper bounds of A is uncountable set. So if any set which is bounded above, then set of all upper bound must be a uncountable, because every real number which is greater than or equal to alpha is an upper bound, and such real number are uncountable number of real numbers. And if there does not exist any alpha belongs to R such that x is less than or equal to alpha for all x belongs to A, then A is called unbounded above. So if there does not exist any alpha which is satisfying this property, then this given set is called unbounded above set. And based on this definition, we can redefine this definition: unbounded above. So unbounded above set is A which is a subset of R such that for every alpha belongs to real number, there must exist y belongs to A or x belongs to A such that y is greater than alpha. If this property fails, so for all, in place of for all, there must exist some y belongs to A such that y must be greater than alpha. So this one is the definition of a upper bound. And if a set has This is the definition of unbounded above, or this definition we can write on, since in this case we are taking any real number, so this definition we can define on a natural number, that is a is unbounded above if for every natural number n belongs to n, there exists some xn belongs to a such that x of n is greater than n. Or this definition again we can write down, since all terms of x, each xn belongs to a, so we can say that this xn is a function, since n belongs to natural number, so xn is a function from n to a, and every function from n to a, that is xn is a sequence defined on a. So if your set is unbounded above, then this property hold, or if this property hold, that is there exists a sequence which is defined on a and which diverges to infinity. Since n tends to infinity, this tends to infinity, so larger term must tends to infinity. That is a is unbounded above if and only if there exists a sequence, say xn, defined on a such that the sequence xn is diverge to plus infinity as n tends to infinity. So this one is another definition, or we can say that this is a sequential definition of for a set to be a unbounded. And next definition is bounded below or lower bound. So bounded below or a lower bound of set. So again, let A is any non-empty set and A is a subset of a real line, then the real number beta belongs to R is called a lower bound of A if for every x belongs to A, this beta is less than or equal to x. So simple definition, if for every x belongs to A, beta is less than or equal to x, then this beta, which is the real number, is called a lower bound of A, and A is called bounded below. Simple definition. And similarly, we can say that if gamma or beta is any lower bound of A, then every gamma belongs to real line such that gamma is less than or equal to beta, implies gamma is also a lower bound of A. That is, if a set is bounded below, then the set of all lower bound is always a uncountable set. So if A is bounded below, then set of all lower bounds is uncountable set. So this one is the definition of a lower bound, and collection of lower bound if exists, then it must be uncountable set. Or if there does not exist any lower bound, then A is called unbounded below. So a set is called unbounded below if it does not have any lower bound. So this definition we can write down: A is unbounded below if this property fails, that is, for all beta belongs to real number, there must exist x belongs to a such that beta is less than x. That is, beta is not a x is less than beta. That is, beta is not a lower bound of a. Or this definition we can change into a sequential definition, which can be write down. So a is unbounded below if for every n belongs to natural number, there exists xn belongs to a such that this xn is less than minus n. That is, minus n is not a lower bound. That is, a is unbounded below if and only if there exists a sequence xn defined on a such that xn is diverge to minus infinity as n tends to infinity. So if a set has a if on a set there is a sequence which diverges to minus infinity, then set is called unbounded below. Or if there does not exist any sequence which diverges to minus infinity, then obviously set is bounded below. Or similarly, if there does not exist any sequences which diverge to plus infinity, then set is called bounded above. So in a chapter of a sequence, we will redefine the definition of a bounded set based on the sequence. So finally, we have a definition of a bounded set. So first we have defined bounded above, second we have defined bounded below. Now definition of a bounded set. So A is a subset of R is called bounded if either A is empty or A has lower and upper bound both. That is, A is bounded below and bounded above. Or we can say that there exists alpha and beta belongs to belongs to real line R such that alpha is less than or equal to x less than or equal to beta for every x belongs to E. Then this A is called bounded. Or this we can write down, there exists alpha beta belongs to R such that A is contained in a closed interval alpha beta or some open interval alpha beta. So these are some of the equivalent definition for a set to be a bounded. A set is called bounded if it has a lower bound and upper bound, or it is a bounded below or and above, bounded above, or every element lying between alpha and beta, where alpha and beta any real number, or A contained in a closed interval, or we can write down this as open interval or semi-closed and semi-open interval. Next is the definition of a supremum of a set. So supremum of a set A. So let A is any subset of a real line, and we have already discussed the definition of a bounded set or bounded above. So if A is bounded above, that is, there exists alpha belongs to R such that for all x belongs to A, x is less than or equal to alpha. That is, alpha is a upper bound of A, and we can define based on this u of A, which is alpha belongs to R such that alpha is upper bound of A, assuming that A is a bounded above. So definitely this u of A is bounded below set. Since for every alpha belongs to UA, x is less than or equal to alpha, so x which is a member of A must be a lower bound of this. Then the least element of U of A, that is the least upper bound. So every element of UA is an upper bound. So we are picking the least upper bound of A is called supremum of A. So the smallest upper bound of A is called the supremum of A. Or if A does not have any upper bound, so if upper bound does not exist, that is A is not bounded above, so then supremum of A is denoted by plus infinity. So simple definition, the least upper bound of a set is called a supremum provided set is bounded above, otherwise supremum is denoted by plus infinity. And this definition we can write down mathematically. So based on this definition, the supremum is the least upper bound. So if A is a subset of R, then capital M belongs to R is called supremum of A. If so, capital M is a supremum of A if it should be a least upper bound, that is first condition, capital M is an upper bound. So first condition, it should be an upper bound, and second condition, it should be a least upper bound. That is, by definition of upper bound, for every x belongs to A, x must be less than or equal to A. And second condition is this capital M is least upper bound. And least upper bound, that is for any epsilon greater than 0, m minus epsilon is not an upper bound. Since capital M is the least upper bound, so m minus something is never upper bound. That is, for every epsilon greater than 0, m minus epsilon, or for every epsilon greater than 0, there must exist y belongs to A such that y is a greater than m minus epsilon. Since m minus epsilon is not a upper bound, so there must exist some element in A which is greater than this value. So this definition we can summarize that if A is a subset of R and A is a bounded above, then capital M belongs to R is supremum of A if and only if first condition is for all x belongs to A, x must be less than or equal to M, and second condition is for every epsilon greater than 0, there must exist y belongs to A such that y is greater than m minus epsilon. So this is the mathematical definition of a supremum of a set, and based on this definition, in the next segment we will prove that the supremum of every set is either member of the set, otherwise it must be a limit point of a set, provided it exists. And next definition is infimum of a set. So infimum of a set A. So let A is any subset of real line and A is bounded below. So a set which is a bounded below set, then the greatest lower bound of A. Since if A is bounded below, then lower bound must exist, and there are uncountable number of lower bounds. So the greatest lower bound of A is called an infimum of the set A. That is, if we will denote the L of A, which is beta belongs to R, such that beta is lower bound, then the largest element or LA must be a bounded above, since every element of A is the upper bound of LA by definition of a lower bound. The largest element of LA is called infimum of capital A. So among all the lower bound, the largest one is called an infimum, or this we can write down mathematically. So if A is bounded below, then small m belongs to R is called infimum of A. If smaller m must be the greatest lower bound, so first condition, small m is a lower bound. That is, for every x belongs to A, small m less than or equal to x by definition of a lower bound. Second one is, smaller m is the greatest lower bound. That is, the any number which is larger than m is never a lower bound. That is, for every epsilon greater than 0, small m plus epsilon is not a lower bound. Or if this is not lower bound, so this definition we can write down. That is, for every epsilon greater than 0, m plus epsilon is not a lower bound. Or if this is not a lower bound, that is, we can say that for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists some y belongs to A such that y is less than m plus epsilon. Since m plus epsilon is not lower bound, so there must exist some element of A which is less than this value. Again, based on this property, we can directly write down the mathematical definition of a infimum. So which is, so if A is bounded below, then small m belongs to R is infimum of A if and only if, first condition, for every x belongs to A, small m must be less than or equal to x. And second condition, for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists y belongs to A such that y is less than m plus epsilon. That is, m plus epsilon is never lower bound, or m must be a lower bound. So this one is the mathematical definition for a set whose infimum exists, or if A is not bounded below, then infimum of A is denoted by minus infinity. That is, if A does not have any lower bound, then infimum of A must be denoted by minus infinity. Some of the basic property based on the supremum and infimum. So if we have A is a simply empty set, first case, then every alpha belongs to R is upper bound. By definition of a upper bound, alpha is upper bound if for every x belongs to A, x is less than or equal to alpha. Since A does not have any element, so every element is an upper bound. Or similarly, we can say that every alpha belongs to R is lower bound. Or if every alpha belongs to R is upper bound and every alpha belongs to R is lower bound, then the least upper bound is supremum. So supremum of this A is the least upper bound. So from a real line, the least upper bound must be a minus infinity. And again, by definition of infimum, so infimum of A is plus infinity. That is, the supremum of empty set must be less than infimum of empty set. So this one the property for a empty set. Next one, if we have a set which is a singleton set, if A is any set which exactly one element, so obvious property, supremum of A is equal to alpha is equal to infimum of A. So if A is a singleton set, then supremum must be alpha and infimum must be alpha. And converse, if supremum of a set is the same as the infimum of a set, definitely by definition it must be a singleton set. So a set is a singleton set if and only if its supremum and infimum are same. Next, if A is any non-empty finite set. So if A is any non-empty finite set, then obviously supremum of A is the largest element of A and infimum of A is the smallest element of A. Simple definition. That is, every finite set must be a bounded set and supremum value is the largest element of this set and infimum value is the smallest element of this set. That is, for every finite set, supremum and infimum must be the member of its set. And other property, if A is bounded and capital M is a supremum of A and small m is infimum of A, then first, if capital M does not belongs to A, then for any epsilon greater than 0, capital M minus epsilon, capital M plus epsilon intersection with A is infinite. Or based on this, we can directly say that if capital M does not belongs to A, implies A must be infinite. Since whenever A is a finite and a non-empty set and supremum is the largest element of A, so in this case assuming that A is bounded and A should be a non-empty set. So whenever A is a non-empty finite set, then supremum is the largest element or largest element of set must be a member of this set and infimum is the smallest element, it is obviously member of the set. So whenever your set is a bounded and non-empty and supremum does not belongs to set, then set must be infinite, and we easily prove that this is m minus epsilon or m plus epsilon. This interval contains infinite element of A. By definition, simple, we can prove this one. Since capital M is a supremum, so for all x belongs to A, x must be less than or equal to m. Obviously, this is less than or equal to m plus epsilon for any epsilon. And by definition of a supremum, for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists y belongs to A such that m minus epsilon is less than y. And since y is a member of A, so this must be less than capital M, since capital M does not belong to A, and which must be less than n plus epsilon. That is in the interval from minus n minus epsilon to n plus epsilon, there must exist some element y belongs to A. Since this property holds for arbitrary epsilon, so definitely this interval contains infinite element of A. And based on this property, we can say that the supremum of a set, if it is not member of the set, then it must be a limit point of the set by definition of a limit point. We will prove this one. So similarly, for infimum, so if small m does not belongs to A, then A must be infinite and small m minus epsilon and small m plus epsilon intersection A, this set also infinite. Again, by definition we can prove this thing. So these are some of the properties with respect to a supremum of a set and infimum of a set. And next is some of the properties on a sum of the set and product of the set. So let's define the definition. Sum of two sets. So let A is a non-empty and B is also non-empty set, and A and B are a subset of a real number. Then the sum A plus B is defined as small a plus b, with A belongs to capital A and B belongs to capital A. So in this case, the addition of real number A plus B is a simple addition of the real number. Since A is a real number, B is a real number, so A plus B must be a real number. So obviously this A plus B must be a subset of R, and it must be defined with respect to A is non-empty, B is non-empty. Whenever there is a definition of a sum, obviously A and B are non-empty, whether this is given or not given. Simple example, if we will take A equal to -1 to 2 and B is equal to say 2 to 4, then A plus B. So every element of A is getting added with the every element of B. So the smallest element in this one, the addition of the smallest element, so which is 1, and the largest element is the addition of the largest element, so which is the 6. So A plus B must be a 1 to 6 interval. Another example, if we will take A is n, such that n is a natural number, so basically A is a set of natural number and B is a minus n plus 1 upon m, minus n plus 1 upon n, again n is a natural number, then A plus B is minus n or n minus n plus 1 upon m, where n and m belongs to natural number. Since this element is A and this element is B, so this B can be written as minus n plus 1 upon m. So in this case, the addition of element is not component wise addition. Every element of A is added to element of B, or every element of B is added to element of A. So simple definition of addition of two sets. And similarly, we can define the product of two sets. So product of two sets. So again, let A is a non-empty and B is also non-empty set, and A and B are a subset of a real line. Then A into B is defined as simply A into B. So product of two real number with A belongs to capital A and B belongs to capital B. Simple definition. Another example, if we will take A is equal to -1 to 2 and B is equal to say 2 to 4, then what is A into B? So every element of A is getting product with the every element of B. So smallest element in A into B is the product of the smallest with the largest, or largest with smallest element. So in this case, smallest element is -1 or largest element is 4. So finally, smallest element is -4, and largest element is the product of the largest element in the both of the sets. So largest one is 2, in this case largest one is 4. So finally is 8. So A into B is the interval between -4 to 8. So this one is the definition for product. Now some of the properties on sum and product. So if A and B are bounded set, obviously non-empty. So A and B are bounded set, then A plus B also bounded. By simple definition you can prove that, and the supremum of A plus B is the same as the supremum of A plus a supremum of B, and similarly infimum of A plus B must be same as infimum of A plus infimum of B, and the product of two bounded set also bounded. And in this case the supremum of A into B is the maximum of some alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4, where alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4 we will define, and the infimum of A into B is the minimum of again alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 and alpha 4. These are four terms where alpha 1 is supremum of A into supremum of B, and alpha 2 is supremum of A into infimum of B, and alpha 3 is infimum of A into supremum of B, or alpha 4 is infimum of A into infimum of B. So these all property you can prove by definition. So if A is bounded, B is bounded, and both are non-empty, then sum and product both are bounded, and supremum of the sum is also sum of the supremum, and infimum of the sum is also infimum of sum of the infimum, and the supremum of A into B is the maximum from all these quantity, and infimum is the minimum from all these four quantities. So these are some of the properties with respect to sum and product of the two sets. In the next segment we will discuss the limit point, derived set, interior point, open set, and some of the properties on closed set and open set.